normally I would be saying I only have 4 pages. It's actually only 3.5. And I think that might actually mean something today. It's already hot.
Great.
So hot. And I think I have a little bit of once somebody tells you, you got to do something different in your house, something I've been expecting for 7 years, you still walk around with, I have a plan, I know what I'm going to do, but there's just that anxiety there. And then I have dental work tomorrow, 2 needles minimum. We're doing both sides. So I didn't take the Valium before I came to church. I'm not supposed to take it until I go to bed tonight. So the dentist for some reason, he doesn't like it when I hyperventilate in the chair. I don't know why. But just feeling, just kind of a little tense and what's going to happen. And, last time I had something big done to my house, big burly dad came in and took care of it. And so I didn't really have much to do, so I'm not used to this stuff. It makes me feel like I should be a renter. Anyways, so tonight we're going to talk about God in a box. God in a box. Years ago, we had a couple. That's fantastic. We had a couple in our church, the Messinas. Some of you remember them. And they never had children. They had a dog. One of those little dogs. It wasn't like a big, pretty dog. It was a little yappy dog. Sweetest people on the planet, but no kids. So one year I got her a baby in a box. I was her secret sister. So for Christmas I got her a baby in a box. It's like a little paper baby. And it had all like the birth certificate and the feeding schedule and all that. Yeah, baby in a box. I recently saw a miniature cow in a box where you could own your own miniature cow, but it existed on paper. It was great. Somebody may be seeing that in their birthday present in January. Just saying. Miniature cow in a box. Tonight we're talking about God in a box. Turns out, though, our God in a box was a real God in a real box. Okay? The custom started immediately upon the completion of Israel's tabernacle. They watched God's pillar of cloud and fire settle over it. And when they would move the box, they would sing. When God moved, they would sing. In Numbers 10, verses 33 to 36. Is there any way for me to get it in English? Oh, you know what? I don't need it. It doesn't matter that I can't read it. That's okay. I got it here. And they departed from the mount of the Lord 3 days' journey. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them in the 3 days' journey to search out a resting place for them. And the cloud of the Lord was upon them by day when they went out of the camp. And it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, Rise up, Lord, and let thine enemies be scattered, and let them that hate thee flee before thee. And when it rested, he said, Return, O Lord, unto the many thousands of Israel. Later on, the custom always became associated with that ark of the covenant, where God's presence dwelt. God in a box. Okay? It's God in a box. This is how he existed for them. We kind of take this for granted. But it's only been a couple thousand years where you can have God live here. Right? Before that, they didn't do that. God didn't live in here. And they had God in a box. And I do not mean that irreverently. That's just, it was God. It was his presence in a box. David first sung Psalm 68 when he brought the ark back to Jerusalem. And then it was later immortalized as a song annually at the Feast of Pentecost. And honestly, when I first started reading this, it was right in my head. Right? Right? Isn't that the first thing that came to your minds? At least 3 of you. Okay. Just making sure. Okay. In Psalm 68, verse 1. Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered. Let them also that hate him flee before him. So they sung this song when the ark was being moved. This was God's presence with them. We know a bit about the box, about the ark. No, didn't shoot lightning bolts and zap everybody, no matter what Hollywood might have told you. Actually, I don't know. Maybe that is how it worked. I mean, I wasn't there. Brother Rick, is that how it worked? Okay. You didn't make that journey. You didn't make the journey where the guys accidentally grabbed it. You weren't on that particular trip. Yeah, okay. It's called the Ark of the Covenant, sometimes the Ark of Testimony, the Ark of God. The construction details were in Exodus 25. He gave us the dimensions of 2.5 cubits long by 1.5 cubits wide and high. Wasn't super big. The fourth dimension was God. Had a length, had a width, it had a height, and then it had God. So even though it wasn't real big, packed a whole lot of punch in that box. The wood was overlaid with gold. There were rings and staves on the side to carry it. The mercy seat covered by cherubim on the top, and the Shekinah presence of God inside dwelt with it. And we've all seen every kind of drawing known to man depicting this thing, right? Showing what it was. Oh, did you put one up? No. That is not it. But I didn't give him any context. I just gave him a title and just said God in a box. That works. It is minimalist, period. God, in Leviticus 16:2, was a cloud upon it. In Numbers 7:89, he spoke from it. And it's still out there somewhere. Nobody really knows where it is. I mean, people claim they've found it, right? But it hasn't actually been found. At least last I heard. It hadn't actually been found, right?
I think it's in a warehouse.
With a swastika on the side of it. That was a movie, Brother Rick. Come on. Come on. It was a Harrison Ford movie. Oh, my word. That's great.
That's Dr. Jones to you.
I like that. Oh, brother, that just went a whole long way. Whew. It's out there somewhere. Wow. And it had some contents in it. It had the manna, right? That bread-like substance that was on the ground every morning. Now, folks, there are some things I can eat several days in a row. We've all got that thing. Like if I'm in the mood for cereal with dehydrated strawberries, I can eat it for every meal for about 3 days. But I can't quite eat it beyond that. Mexican food? Like one kind of Mexican food, like fajitas and my leftovers, because fajitas equals leftovers. I could eat it 3, 4, 5 days in a row. But finally, about day 6, I need a hot dog or spaghetti or hamburger or a good old American Taco Bell, something. Okay, I need something. These people ate manna every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, whatever their calendar was. Okay, they ate it for a long time. It was the provision. It was in the ark and represented provision. And remember, this is the thing where it was so exclusive to God's provision, they couldn't save it up. You didn't need Tupperware. Because at the end of the day, anything left over was gone by the next morning. It had rotted or whatever they called it. Anyway. Except on Saturdays. You could pick up twice as much. And you did need one piece of Tupperware per household for Saturday night through Sunday. So you could keep it overnight. Because you couldn't pick it up on Sunday, right? That's considered work. You couldn't do that on Sunday. So it wasn't steak and potatoes. It wasn't Alexander's. It wasn't Biaggi's, my favorite. It was what got them through. he provided food for them every day. And they lived. Right? Okay, so provision. It had the rod of Aaron in it. The rod of Aaron, turned into a serpent, picked it up, became a rod. It would bloom in someone's hand. The rod of Aaron. The judgment on the family of Korah. It represented authority. It was in the ark. And then we have the tablets of the covenant, tables of the covenant. The 10 Commandments. The written word of God, right, in the ark. All of these things were important. And I actually was thinking about you again today, actually, Brother Rick, because he's been talking about stuff this way. And so I was thinking about it this way. He's got manna in there. He's got the rod of Aaron in there. Those people understood what those represented. Because they're still hearing the oral stories of how God, right? And Aaron and Moses just brought them into the promised land. They saw the rod be used. They understand what the manna and the rod is. And so they understood this was him showing his provision, his authority, his written word. Now later on, we find out at the dedication of the temple, after the ark's captivity, all that was left in it was the tablets. Because it was the most important part, the word of God. I mean, he's going to provide for us, but his word is more important than my bread. It's my spiritual bread. It's going to be what gets us through, right? That covenant was the importantest part. It's not a word, but it's there. 1 Kings 8, 9 through 11. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone which Moses put there at Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of the Lord. Even without the provision and without the rod of authority, the tablets, the covenant was enough for the glory of God to come down and fill the house and do work. Every time the ark was moved, someone would be proclaiming, "Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered." When the pillar of cloud, I always get the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire day and night mixed up. I don't know why. I mean, if I think about it, I'd understand. I always want to say pillar of fire by day, but it's not. Pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night. The ark was moving. Similar Hebrew expressions to let God arise, awake, gird on thy sword, make bare your arms. They were all saying, okay, Lord, we need you to arise now and move with us, which would make it sound like there were times of passive restraint. He was sort of passive for a time, and then he would show his power, would arise from the covenant and slay an army or whatever the power would come out and do. There were miracles that were kind of shepherded by the ark. The Jordan crossing in Joshua 3:13. And it shall come to pass as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, that the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon an heap. Miracles. Jericho. Joshua fought the battle. There was a lot of music involved in this one, okay? Got to be honest. No, Theresa, it's not about the song. Jericho. Joshua 6:11 and the verses 14 to 16. So the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about it once, and then they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And the second day they compassed the city once and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, because, they were spiritual. I don't get that. I'd had a hard time having victory at Jericho, because they had to be up at the dawning of the day. And compassed the city about the same manner 7 times. Only on the day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, "Shout, for the Lord hath given you the city." And we know the story The walls went down into the ground. Victory at Jericho. The ark was there. Many battles were won. Sometimes even before the armies would get there, because the presence of God came first. There was one time where they got into some trouble with the ark. In 1 Samuel, they were in a desperate battle with the Philistines. Pick your tomato. And it seemed like they were honoring the symbol itself as God rather than God. You know that old saying, we should worship the creator. People worship the creation more than the creator, and that's a problem, right? The creator, God, his presence was the important part there. And they were kind of raising up the ark itself as if it was God. 1 Samuel 4, 2 through 5. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel. And when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines. And they slew the army in the field, about 4,000 men. And when the people were come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, "Wherefore hath the Lord smitten us today before the Philistines? Let us fetch the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh among us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies." So the people sent to Shiloh, that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. And they lose really badly. And the ark is stolen, taken captive. They were making the symbol more raised up than the God of the symbol. We have to make sure we don't do that. I think we do that sometimes. I get worried sometimes because I will hear new converts. We're supposed to be friends with them. We're supposed to love them, encourage them, draw them in. But at some point, it has to stop being about the friendship they have with us, and they have to plug in with him. It has to be about him, and we're the vehicle and not the point. And as Christians, even long term, we've talked about this in leadership, we get so busy doing the work of the church, where the church is lifted up more than it, but it's not about the church, it's about the God of the church. And there's just a fine line there. And we have to make sure that we're not doing that same thing that Israel did here. If we're looking to him, he can do incredible things. Now for us, we don't have God in an actual literal box anymore. He's in a fleshly box, but he's in all the boxes at the same time. He's everywhere. I don't always get the omnipresent piece. My brain can't quite translate the calculations for that. But if we're looking to him, he's going to be able to do anything for us. And what he does is he takes his foes and he thwarts them with their own weapons. Example, the lepers and the Syrians in 2 Kings 7. This is the story where the 4 lepers were outside the gate, and they were saying, "Why are we sitting here just to die? If we try to go into the city, there's famine in there. We're going to die in there. If we sit here, we're going to die here. Let's go out to the host of the Syrians who were camped out to come against the Israelites. And if they save us, we live. If they kill us, we're going to die just like we're going to die right here." And so they rose up at twilight to go into the camp of the Syrians. I'm in 5Z. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, "Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us." Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, left their tents, their horses, their donkeys, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. He took their own weapons and gave it to, basically, the Israelites. He He gives death to death. He takes captivity captive. He uses the work of the enemy against him. I don't remember which one of you it was, but one of the two preachers in the house recently was preaching about the good, that all things work together for the good. It was you? Okay. Well, I knew one of you, but I don't always remember. Sometimes I'm just like, somebody this week preached about this thing. Could have been Brother David. If it was a short message, it was probably Brother David. Just saying. So the enemy attacks you with something. God can take that attack and use it for good. It's the same idea here with these lepers. Because God's living in us, and he's not the God in that box with the little angels on top anymore, okay? He lives in us. God isn't still in a box unless we put him in a box. We do that. We do that to each other. We do that to people in our lives. We do that to family. The society at large does this. I don't think they do it on purpose. These children aren't going to be able to succeed in this activity or this sport or this class because clearly by looking at them and interacting with them for 5 minutes, they may not have the capacity to be able to do this. So we're going to do something else. We're putting people in boxes a lot of times without giving them an opportunity to do more. Well, we do that with God all the time. All the time. Our unbelief. Oh, I believe in God. We all have moments of unbelief. We're human. We see things with our eyes. And so when we have unbelief, we're putting God in a box. He can't do it. Matthew 13:58 says, and he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. Unbelief puts God in a box. So he can't do a work. It's not, God can't do anything about this, so I'm going to have to do it myself. That's not how we come at it. Oh, God's got this. Let me go see what I can figure out. Oh, God's got this. I did it all day. I'm still doing it. God's got it. Okay, now I got to work out a plan with Pastor. I got to figure out how I'm going to get an air conditioner and a furnace. And I've got to be worried, and I'm going to be worried about it for hours. That right there, that's my unbelief trying to kind of wiggle its way out, okay? It's putting God in a box, all right? Sometimes we put God in a box because he doesn't answer a prayer the way we think he should. And so then we're going to figure that out around him. It comes in a different way. Well, that's not what I needed, God, so I'm going to go do this instead. We're putting him in a box. Sometimes it is forcing our expectations on God. Oh, Lord, you see the situation. I need you to make sure that so-and-so gets this job. They need to be making this amount of money. Lord, you need to give them a dental plan, a health plan, 14 days of vacation a year. Now, you're saying to yourself, we don't pray like that. But if you think about it, we may not be that specific. But we kind of give him our list with a lot of detail. We do. We do. Lord, it'd be great if you do this. This is what I need you to do for me. Well, maybe that's not what I need in that situation. And maybe not only is that not what I need, but maybe that'd be bad for me. Maybe what he's got for me will be better. But I try to put him in a box because it's what I understand. We do that a lot. We put him in a box. If we can get ourselves to realize the covenant, the written word, we have it. We can learn it. We hear it. We read it. We memorize it. We put it on our hearts. He lives inside of us. He doesn't live in a box. That means his power is unlimited in our day. He can do anything for us. If we get that relationship right, recognizing that he's not God in a box, it'll be smooth sailing. We're still human. It will always be part of what we do. But if we think about it a little bit once in a while, maybe we can keep from putting him in that box so often. He's got greater things, bigger things. Maybe sometimes not even bigger in terms of, I don't know, a wage, right? Or, I don't know, fancy car or whatever. Bigger sometimes is about more important. Maybe he's got a work that you're going to do that's huge. And if that only means connecting with one or two people in your life and leading them to God, done. Huge. That's super important. It's so much more important than some of the things we ask for. He's got something like that for us, as long as we don't put him in a box and not let him do what he wants to do for us.